And we didn't want to delay it, right? All right, everybody, welcome to the Community Forum on the Albuquerque Police Department. Thanks so much for coming. So you can definitely hear? It's loud enough? Okay. My name is Sue Skirman. I'm the coordinator of the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. We're really happy that the forum could take place here. We are a center that is committed to nonviolent conflict resolution and social justice, and so it's a really good fit. So thank you so much. I'm just here to welcome you, let you know that there are 2 bathrooms over there, and there's 2 exits. One is over there, the front door, and then there's a back door over there. If we do reach capacity at 150 people, then we're going to start turning people away until people start leaving, and one at a time we'll let more people in. Now I'm going to introduce our facilitators for tonight. Amalia Montoya, Enrique Cardiel, and Ilsa Beal. And they'll talk about what tonight's agenda is and how we're going to proceed. Thank you very much.
This name tag thing is always confusing to me. I try and avoid them at all costs, but you know. So yesterday was a very intense day. And we've come here tonight, and we have an agenda that one of the other facilitators will talk about. But I think that it would help us just to take a deep breath. Maybe one more. Because that was a tough day. But it was just a reflection of what's been happening for years. And I just want to say that, you know, I'm an imperfect person, and in facilitating tonight, you know, I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm hoping that you can roll with some of those mistakes and forgive me for them, and I'll try and do my best. All of the facilitators will try and do their best. And we really want people to think about the connections as we talk about these issues. You know, when the police come up on you, you know, it's very scary. And when they're completely in their militarized form, it's very scary. And it's different for different people. It's different for me as a woman of color than it is for a man of color or for a white man. But we're connected. If the police are coming up on us, we're both there together. You know, we're both under the same pressure. And we need to make those connections when we talk about that and be kind to one another. And be kind to one another when we talk about these issues. I know that there may be and are family members who are here in the audience. And at some point, well, in the beginning, we're going to hold space for those folks to speak first. And so just so if they choose to, and we don't want to put them on the spot or anything, but only if they choose to. So there's going to be a certain point here in the beginning where we're going to hold a little bit of space for that. And I just wanted to say that. And then I think we should talk about the agenda. Which one of you wanted to talk? Yes, and maybe we should talk about the guidelines that we're going to use. Let's do the guidelines. We just wanted to have some guidelines for this discussion so that we can show respect and honor to one another.
Okay, we don't have many, but we would really ask people to adhere to these. This might get a bit more emotional, so it is crucial that we remain respectful to each other. There are so many people, so many different voices, and we would like to hear as many voices as possible. So we're asking you to limit yourself to 2 minutes. Ruben has agreed, just put up your hand, has agreed to be our timekeeper. If Ruben starts making the universal sign for timeout, then please just try and close your comments. That is important. Um, we also need people to be to the point. We're irritated about all kinds of stuff. Tonight, we're only going to talk about the APD crisis and also try and make it then as effective as possible. So, yes, we want to hear your opinions, and those are important, but just try and be to the point as much as possible. There's a further thing, which Sue used the term step up, step back. It's basically, if you've spoken once, then perhaps just step back and allow other people to speak so that we hear as many different voices as possible. And then also we will be keeping what we call a progressive stack. So that means it's not necessarily first come, first serve. Whoever puts up their hand first is getting to speak first, because there might be other voices that might have put up their hands third or fourth or however manyth, and they would bring in the diversity. So our two stakeholders are here, Maria and Natalie, and they will make that decision. They are trained, and they will then try and bring in the voices that might not always be heard. So we're also asking your indulgence where that is concerned. There is a very specific reason for this. It's not just being nasty. It is important. Okay? So I'm hoping that everyone will agree to this and abide by these guidelines. Thank you. Oh, I forgot one thing. I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. Just because we're trying to have a concentrated conversation, I realize that many people will want to just share something with their neighbor and so on. If you don't mind, take side conversations out of the room, just so that the other people can then still concentrate on what's going on within this room. Okay, that's it.
We still have seats throughout here if anyone wants to sit down. There's a few here up front, just so that folks who have a hard time standing up for a long period of time can sit down. So we just did the welcome and the intro. We're going to spend a little bit of time debriefing from yesterday. That was a lot, and a lot of us in the room were involved in some way. Then we're going to talk about the demands for change with APD and next steps. So we're going to try to do all of that by 8:30. That's going to be hard to do. If there was 5 of us in the room, it would be hard to do. So it's going to be that much harder with this size of a group. There's tons of experience in the room. And so if we can just kind of follow our timekeeper so that we can keep moving ahead, because not everyone can stay much past 8:30, and so we want to respect that. And we don't want it to be so that the folks who are able to stay later get to make all the decisions because everybody else left.
So now we would like to welcome people that we can get a mic to them. I don't know if we have anybody running the mic. Maybe it's me. And we can bring you a mic if you want to raise your hand, and a stacker will call on you. And just give us some of your comments, you know, briefly as you can, about your experience yesterday, or what you saw in the media, or what your thoughts are about what happened yesterday. And, you know, the shootings of our folks in the street, because that's why we're here. So if you would like to comment and share your thoughts about your experiences in the last couple of days, in the last couple of years, just raise your hand and we'll bring you a mic.
problem because, I mean, I've seen this town go up and down with the police. I've seen them have good policemen. When I was a kid, they'd just make us dump out our pot, pour out our beer, go home. You know, they were understanding, they were cool, okay? But things have changed now. And my solution, uh, my solution for what happened yesterday, okay, me and many of the people in this room have had protests before. And the police come up to us and thank us afterwards. There's no conflict, there's no problems. We're all veteran protesters. I've only been protesting maybe 20 years, 5 years. So we've been doing this a lot, and is my wife here? Did she cut me off again?
So maybe this one will work, but I just want to remind you that we have many people in the room, and if you could be brief, that would be great.
Well, can I say something more time about yesterday? Yeah.
Okay.
Just let me sum up real quick. Okay, yesterday they did all the right things to provoke the police to be violent. Now, the police should never use violence against a nonviolent protest. Okay, I'm not condoning that, but I'm saying the actions of what happened yesterday surely contributed to what happened last night. So it's the freeway thing. What the hell was that? you know. So we need to be more civil on our actions. So.
Yes, and I like to stand up because I really am determined to keep on the work I'm doing as an activist. I need to tell you, I was there yesterday, and I did sing a song called Love Makes a Difference, and it's a religious song, and I was hoping that would be peaceful and calm people down. But I was feeling the resistance of the people wanting to go out and do some things that were not what I wanted to be around. And I also did try to talk them down, and so did a lot of other people. Try to relax them, try to tell them that we're doing things, direct action. They didn't want to hear it. I believe there was a group that came in with black masks, and in my opinion, I'm not positive, but I believe there were infiltrators that were trying to cause a little bit of problems with the people that were protesting. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say that thank you for reminding me that there probably are undercover folks in the room tonight. So let's just be mindful of that and admit it.
Hi, I'm going to get right to the point. I was there during both of the instances with tear gas, but I'm going to get right to the point, not go back and forth on this. I think one of the main things that needs to be done is that the police responsible during the James Boyd shooting need to be prosecuted, not under a grand jury where the only people inside are the prosecutors, but for a formal civil community-based hearing to put these people in jail for murder, because it doesn't matter who commits it, murder is murder. Now, thank you. Now, as far as the protesters go, this was a peaceful protest. Even at both of the foggings of the people, there were children there during the first one who got tear gas. I myself got tear gas twice. Now, this was a peaceful protest. We were standing there in front of the Albuquerque Police Department Center. We were standing there. There was no acts of violence. There was nothing. They came, they surrounded us, blocked off all the streets, tear gassed the crowd to get us to leave, and still chased people down, took them to the ground, beat them. Now, these people need to be held responsible for what they did.
Yeah, Silvio DeLancho. I want to say my neighbor was murdered in 2010 June, and a Navy SEAL veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder was almost murdered. 2 months later, I got into this. Yeah, I said, oh, it's bad, how bad it is. You know, the James killing isn't the only thing. It's just the catalyst for everything. We've gotten a scale of them that cops that have gone free. But the blame is not necessarily the cops. It's the man right there. It's the man right there, Ray Berry, or Raymond Berry. You know, I have a difficulty even mentioning his name. And I looked at the resumes of the 42 other people that were recruited to be chief, and most of them were head and shoulders above Eden. Eden's a political hack. He doesn't even belong here. You ought to call for his firing. We ought to look for a recall for this mayor, and we ought to get the DOJ to run in here and take care of things.
We're not doing it in order, sorry.
I don't know how probable this is, but we were talking about how it wasn't necessarily good. A lot of people were really angry yesterday, and young people weren't necessarily doing the right things to go face to face with APD. But like I said, I don't know how probable it would be, but it would be really beneficial if we could have meetings like this before a protest to actually get everyone on the same page, because there's a lot of young people with a lot of passion who want to be really good protesters and advocates and activists, but I don't necessarily know how to go about that. I'm 22 years old. So if we could have meetings with experienced activists and the younger people who have the same, want, we could get together and set out guidelines, talk about what we can do to actually be efficient and productive. That would make such a huge difference. So if we could somehow get that going, I think that would be really great.
Good evening. Thank you for being here today. I was at the peaceful protest, and there was nothing going on as far as any violence or anything. But one thing that I do want to add is that these Mayor Berry and Chief Eden, they did these militia tactical demonstrations blocks away and that's what agitated these young kids. Me and Roy just spoke about maybe we need to get facilitators at these particular protests and show these young kids how to protest peacefully instead of having them go ranted and get really emotional because of these tactics that the police APD did do.
Okay, really quick. The stackers are telling us who gets the mic next, so don't worry. They've probably seen your hand, so we're going to get to you.
I just wanted to add to the comments about having maybe meetings beforehand or something. Another thing that I think could be really helpful is if there was maybe like a brochure or a handout created that had that kind of information about like what is proper etiquette and what kinds of things people can think about. So even if we don't have time for a meeting ahead of time, we could hand them out at the protest.
Thank you. My name is excuse me. My name is Paul Hay. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch about myself. Believe me, I've been fighting this fight for many, many years. I was an Albuquerque police officer for 25 years. I retired in 2011 as a senior sergeant. And I fought it even while I was active duty, all right? The only way people here want to know what you can do. The only thing you can do, the only way you can kill a snake is cut off its head. R.J. Berry. I've already met with the city clerk. I already know what has to be done for a recall election. I have here in my hand your Declaration of Independence. This is the first step in a recall election. I need people here, and I signed it first because I wanted my name first on the Declaration of Independence. I need people here, registered voters, to sign this. Make sure you sign it where you're registered at. Make sure you're registered or it does not count. I will turn these in tomorrow. I will get the regular petitions. We need 11,203 signatures of registered voters to recall the mayor. Which means we need 15,000. because they're going to throw a lot of them out. So let me pass this around. If you're a registered voter, please sign it. This is the first step. I will get the petitions and we will go on from there. We can do this if we stick together. I support the protests 100%, but I will not support a riot.
Okay. My name is Dinah, and you'll have to excuse my voice, but I was actually a foot soldier at the protest last night, and there was no agitation whatsoever from the protesters. It was peaceful. The only people that showed up to commit acts of violence, of terror, were the militarized Albuquerque Police Department. They were the only ones. And when you call for direct action and civil disobedience, you cannot pick what nonviolence is going to take place. If that happens to look like graffiti, then it is what it is, because it is not the same as murder that we are not holding our leaders accountable for. There is no order, and this state is lawless, and our leaders are lawless. All of them. Fire Mayor Berry, fire the chief, and jail killer cops, because I'd rather die than live as a slave, and I'll do whatever. No justice, no peace.
Yeah, my name is Larry Olguin. My voice is messed up. 9:30 yesterday evening, I was going home from a beautiful dinner. The cops directed me around. We stopped in the parking lot, the north parking lot. I was 30 feet away from the demonstrators. The tear gas was shot at me, shot at my son, and none of that's mentioned in the news of how respectful the cops acted. As far as I'm concerned, this is not Russia. This is America, for the people, by the people.
One thing I want to mention, and I'm going to keep it really brief, is that absolutely I think that there are leaders in the community that need to be held accountable, but also that what we're talking about is an institution that is broken. And so the solutions that need to come need to address that. So Albuquerque police, that they're institutionally racist and oppressive. And so whatever solutions come, it can't just be to call for Mayor Berry or the police chief, because whoever comes in is going to reinforce a system that is broken. So whatever solutions come, just that they really address that. So that's all I have.
Hello, thank you all for being here. I just want to mention that New Mexico has been rather scrupulously organized and watched since the atomic bomb was built here. So we must never have any idea that we're going to get away with anything that the military-industrial complex has not already approved. But I worked in activism in Seattle. I saw what happened there, where the police allowed a bunch of black-shirted anarchists to participate in the protest against the World Trade Organization. You know, anything like that is going to happen here as well. We are up against a very well-organized and experienced enemy. So we need to make very sure that when protests are done, the people who are involved have been approved, and we're not letting agents provocateurs loose to give us a bad name. But the main thing is we need to sign these petitions. We need to realize that the Koch brothers have bought and are in the process of buying every state in the union, and we need to get the coke sniffing repigs off our back in Albuquerque and in the state of New Mexico, and it's not going to be an easy battle. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ray, Razor, you can call me. I was at the protest yesterday, and, you know, it was a really great energy, and there was a lot of people doing the right things and standing up and learning what this is all about. I think there's a lot of people who, this was the first time that they had been out to experience what it's like to stand up. And we're dealing with big picture stuff here. You know, things that are going on, this is, like the gentleman before me was saying, are on a global scale in a lot of ways. And there is definitely a concerted effort to create a control structure. And I think that these examples, these opportunities we have are just opportunities that the press helps create through the egregious nature of this. And the helmet cam footage allowed this to give us an opportunity to be seen around the country now. We're making the news all over the country. And what we did yesterday was a good chance to show how serious that we are in this city. But it's an example of how everybody needs to stand up all over, all the time, about every issue. So we've got to do this right. And we've got to make sure that when the kids are getting riled up, that there's enough of us experienced protesters out, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily one of them, but I know there's some in the room, that we have the guidance necessary to make sure that the press does not then spin it in a bad way, because that seems to be what's happening here. If the citizens of this city on the whole are more annoyed at the traffic stops and the things that they're hearing, and they're more worried about the destruction caused by protest, we're not doing a good job. So we have to be able to stop that stuff. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Okay, there's still some seats here. If you could sit down. People are being turned away at the door because it looks like there's not enough room, but there's still a few seats. So if people could please come up, it'll let other folks be part of this this process. Or yeah, or slide yourself away from the door.
Hi there. My name is Anna Brown, and I'm here as a citizen of Albuquerque. Bernalillo County, actually, I live in the county, so I can't even vote. I didn't vote for this mayor, but I don't protest. I haven't protested since college, but I'm here today because it really is upsetting me to watch this. I'm more upset that homeless people are homeless in this city. And so, in my opinion, if homeless can go away, then this stuff stops happening. So I would hope that part of the demands are that we deal with the homeless population with a czar or something. I mean, we do need to do something to help these people. They can't help themselves.
Hi, my name's Janelle. I was there all day yesterday. And this is really hard for me to talk about. This is my city. This is my home. And I'm watching people destroy it, and it's really rough to see people disrespecting the city and the noble officers who performed wonderfully yesterday. Because, you know what, the majority of them were grunts, and they were following orders, and they performed beautifully, despite the fact that people were taunting them and saying truly horrific things. And we tried desperately all day to keep it nonviolent and to dissuade that behavior. But they won't listen, and so we need more people. We need more experienced protesters who can help us, who can train us on what to do. We weren't enough.
Sorry, we're not going in order. That's why we've got the stackers, if it's okay. Okay?
Good evening. My name is Richard Moore. I'm here this evening representing Los Sardinas Institute, which is a community organization here in Albuquerque. I just want to commend our sisters and brothers that protested all day yesterday. I have to say that right now. No? Whether in fact in some respects we could have or should have done some things a little bit different is some of the things that we have to take under consideration. But what I want to say to you is that this is not, these incidences that we're talking about with the Albuquerque Police Department is not anything new to us, sisters and brothers, okay?
Now, I want us to keep that in mind, and for those that don't remember, very quickly, a moment piece of history. 2 members of our organization was assassinated, not killed, was assassinated by the Albuquerque Police Department on January 29th of 1972. That was the Black Beret organization. For those that remember, we lost 5 members of our organization, and 2 of them were assassinated by the Albuquerque Police Department. Now, I'm saying that just very quickly to get through this. It's very important that we have a dialogue with each other like we're doing this evening. Now, what I want to say to you is that there's some frustration out there, and that frustration is not only just coming from young people. There's many of us that today are just as pissed off as anyone else is because we're tired of being brutalized, pushed around, shoved around, and so on, whether it's by APD or the mayor of this city of Albuquerque. So what I'll say is that let's just be a little bit cautious together, sisters and brothers, no? One, it's not to our benefit to go at it with each other, no? Some of the emails, for example, that are flying, bad-mouthing one organization after another, going through and naming names of people that necessarily, some are saying is not our leader or doesn't represent us or whatever. We have to stay unified in this cause and in this struggle, in this fight, and if we don't, we will be defeated. I can guarantee you on that, no? So we need to stay strong with each other, young and old. We need to be very strategic about what we're doing. We need to take the mayor and that responsible person out of the office because he is one of the primary people. Barry, Perry, and Eden. And if the city council doesn't live up to what they need to live up to, then we need to inform them at the same time that we're not putting up with their bullshit either, okay? Thank you.
Hi, I'm one of the young, angry anarchists that everyone's been talking about, I guess. A lot of people I know aren't here today. I think they feel like they were kind of thrown under the bus the last 24 hours or so by people talking about the protest. You know, I was there. I was playing music. I was one of the people trying to make sure nothing bad happened. I was not going to attend, but when I saw the riot police and the police escalating the situation, I wanted to be there to ensure the safety of my brothers and sisters. And I just want to say, there were a couple of mistakes that were made at the protest yesterday, but I want to say that they were corrected during the protest, that other protesters were like, hey, let's not do that. Let's keep moving instead of trying to tear a sign down. And then people were like, yeah, you're right. This seems like a mistake. And then they moved on. The fact that this group of people yesterday is just being demonized by their comrades is hard. And we want to work with you. We want to be your allies, and we think of ourselves as your allies. So if we could come together and not turn on each other just because of a few bad news reports, that would be really great, I think.
Hi, my name is Lee, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's spoken so far. It's been really enlightening. I think that the problem starts with the mental health care system in America. As a child of a mentally ill parent who has been on the streets, this could have happened to me, to any of us who had a similar situation, a similar upbringing. We have to look at the way the mentally ill are stigmatized in America. We have to look at the way the mentally ill are treated, the way that they're medicated, and the way that they are just ignored by the system. So it starts there with healthcare. That is one of the most important things in a society, is getting proper healthcare to the people. And this also needs to be fixed in our country. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ralph Arianes. I'm the state director for New Mexico LULAC. I'm also the chairman of the Hispanic Roundtable in New Mexico, and I'm also on the National LULAC board. The first thing I want to say is I want to thank all the young people that have stepped up to the plate. Give yourselves a hand. I'm very proud of our young people. You know, I've been at this for a very long time, but I really stepped it up in 2007 when my son was attacked by 5 police officers and tasered 18 times and then charged with 5 aggravated assault against police officers. It's 5 police officers, 1 man on the ground. How do you assault 5 police officers? That's what they did. And so as New Mexico LULAC, we were the first ones to call for a Department of Justice investigation since September of 2007, and we've been fighting for it ever since, and it came. And I'm very proud of the young energy, but we need to galvanize that energy and put it in the right direction and put it in an orderly manner. and we got to call for prosecutions of these killer cops, cops that are assaulting our people and our youth. We have to call for recount of the mayor. We have to call for a lot of things. A takeover of APD, DOJ takeover of APD. There's a lot of things we got to call for, and we have to put them in an orderly fashion. But I really appreciate the energy and people that are speaking out now. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we've had a great protest last week, a great protest on Saturday at the Cesar Chavez March, and then one last night. I think all are very beneficial to this cause. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to be here in the presence of so many passionate people. I just want to say, my name's Asha. I have every reason to fear the police because in 2009, while I was living in Washington, D.C., which is supposedly a sanctuary city, my fiance called the police to report a theft that was perpetrated on us, and he ended up in prison. Why? He ended up in immigration detention for 6 months, then with an electronic shackle for 2 years, and then he was deported and told he couldn't come back for 10 years. So I just want to let you know there are many of us here who fear the police, but I know there are some police who fear us too. I just want to say that this would have been Cesar Chavez's 87th birthday. And as he said, let our bodies and the spirits and the cause, let that be our weapon, the justice of our cause. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. In the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. And I know that we cannot teach the police through our protests, just like they cannot teach us democracy through the barrel of a gun. We need to speak with them, and they need to speak with us, because some of them want to help too. And some of them feel the same way that we do. Can we not sit down and speak with each other as residents and brothers and sisters of this city? Because in the end, it is not about we, it is not about they, it is about us.
So I just want to say that we just have a few more minutes for this part of the program, and we have 3 speakers that are on the stack, and the stack is closed now. 2 or 3? 2.
So thank you, everybody. My name's Jordan. I'm an organizer here in town with the Answer Coalition. We headed down yesterday, I think, for much the same reason that Alex went down, because we saw the cops, we were watching the live stream, escalating the situation, bringing out paramilitary units. I hesitate to draw an equal sign between graffiti on a building or tearing down a sign and the sort of military response to a protest. That doesn't equate to me. I mean, for my part, yeah, I think we need more organization. That's fine. But if, you know, as an organizer in Albuquerque, if our organization can't contain the furor of the people in Albuquerque, then so be it. I mean, there they are. So we stand in solidarity. We need to keep our focus on the police, because demonizing people struggling one way or another, the struggle takes many forms. Demonizing people that are trying to struggle happens all the time, and it's very easy, and we need not contribute to that. We need to stay focused on the issues with the police. Draw attention to the fact that I was there at about 9:30 p.m. At Central across from Johnson Field. There was nothing that provoked those tear gas canisters except the cops were bored and wanted to go home. That was it. So we need to talk. We need to organize ourselves, because our level of organization is, I think, the most frightening thing to the people in power. I also want to reiterate, too, we also need to look not just at the police, but at poverty, racism, homelessness, drug addiction, and the fact that the cops and the prisons are the only things that our society knows how to deploy to deal with its own contradictions. That's the question.
Hello, my name is Dania Mustafa. I'm a student at UNM, and I'm also part of a lot of student organizations. I, just like Jordan and Alex, I actually wasn't going to participate in the protests, but we were meeting at Yale Park. I was meeting with Unoccupy, and then all of a sudden, I saw a whole bunch of riot police come onto the park and start provoking the protesters. Now, I'm from the West Bank, And I see this stuff every time I come from the West Bank. I see the militarization. I see what tear gas canisters can do. 2 of my friends were actually killed by tear gas canisters. And what happens is, not only should we hold, these people accountable, one of our demands needs to be stop the militarization of our police force. We need to stop that, because for me, I was desensitized. I've seen this in the West Bank. But here in Albuquerque, my mind was blown. My mind was blown because the same tactics used in the West Bank against nonviolent Palestinian protesters are used here at home in Albuquerque. And we need to do something. We need a call to action to stop the militarization of our police force. They are here to serve us. They're here to protect people, which they aren't doing because of systematic injustices, just like Jordan and Rosie said. But we need to really demand that we stop the scary militarization and provocation of, the police force. Because it's the police force in the military riot gear that incited the violence. It was their guns pointed to young protesters.
So we're going to just deviate from the agenda just for a second. One of the lawyers that came out yesterday to help negotiate is here. Thank you. I was getting tired of the thing. Is here with a few words to say. So I'll just give it over to Larry for just a few minutes. Larry, just a few minutes. 2 minutes. Ruben's timing you. You know how lawyers are.
We always say one more thing and then we go on for 10 other things. Right before the meeting started, I got a call from APD Deputy Chief Page, who wanted to set up a meeting, saying, take it as you will. He wants to work together and try and keep things nonviolent at any future protests. I've been negotiating with the cops on protests since 2001. So I told him I would present that to this meeting and see what the result is, see who might want to meet with him, and we can talk, at least have that discussion as you were talking about. At every protest, whether you see them or not, the emergency response team is dressed out and ready to go. They're usually a couple blocks away. And the reason is not, there's supposed to be a few blocks away at least, so as not to provoke the people who are protesting and exercising their First Amendment rights. And we saw what happens when they come out. So I told him, I told him I'd let people know what, I'd let you know that he called, wanted to set up a meeting, and we can talk about what goes on with that throughout this meeting.
Thank you.
Do I have more time?
No. I can tease Larry because Larry and I have a working relationship in the streets for several years now. And I think that's what this meeting is about. There's many of us here that have worked together in the streets and some of us that haven't. And now is the time for us to come together and stand in unity against those that want to oppress us. The next part of our meeting is going to be about the demands. And I'm going to have David talk about this because they came from specific places and we're presenting them tonight, but with the thought of you all giving some input into what you think demands should be, and then we can take all those ideas, put them down, and hopefully mold them together. But I'd like you to know where they came from, where they started from, and what they're honed down to right now. And David's going to help us do that.
So really quick, just I'm adjusting the bigger parts of the meeting just by however we go short or long. So we have 25 minutes right now for this piece of the meeting, which is short on one hand, but given the time we have, is a good part of the meeting.
Thank you, Enrique. Hi, everybody. I'm David. I was asked to present the demands that a group has already worked on. This is we didn't want to just drop these on folks. We want you to know where these come from and what the purpose of us presenting them and what we want to get out of this. So there's been a group that's been working for a long time. There's a lot of people from that group that are in this room. Many of them are families of victims of APD. They're people that represent community organizations and members of the community that represent themselves. They have a lot of experience, and like Richard Moore said, they've been doing this for a really long time. And so they've been thinking about this as a problem of APD and a structural problem as well. So we came up with a series of demands, and I was asked to formulate those in a format that we can talk about tonight. And so the point is, I'm going to show you what we've already formulated, not to impose it on anybody, but to say this is where we're starting from. And then when I'm done, then we can start saying, what did we get wrong? What did we miss? What do we need to add? And how do we do that moving forward? We had originally it was 14 demands, and working through them, what we end up having here now are 7 demands. That's what I'm going to present, and a series of objectives. So some of those demands were really about what do we imagine this world looking like once we start to transform APD in this community. So there's 7 demands, and then there's a series of objectives. And so let me, Enrique. Okay, and I want to say also that there were members of the group that had trouble with some of these. There were people that were uncomfortable with some of these, but we sort of pushed through that, and we want to get everyone's feedback. The first demand is a DOJ takeover of APD, the complete removal of all APD leadership. The second demand was community police oversight. We decided not to use the word citizen because of the exclusionary nature of that word, so it's community police oversight with the authority of hiring and firing, which actually is unprecedented in the U.S. It doesn't exist. And I know that how that will look, we could talk about that. Arrest Boyd's killers. Fire Chief Gordon Eden. Indictments on all shooter cops. Militarize APD, and decriminalize homelessness and mental illness. So, well, hold on, I was going to do the objectives. I'm done. So these try to get at both the problem of APD and the structural issues. And then let me also point out here, we have a series of objectives. How do we get there? Increase funding and services, substance abuse treatment, mental health services, housing for homeless. Investigate APD hiring and training, right? Mental health evaluations for all APD cops. And then a call on the good cops to go on strike until all these things happen. So I want to step aside and let's take as much time as we can to go through. Let's start with these with these, and I'm going to turn it back over to the facilitator who's going to help us work through these.
Okay, so we have a total of 21 minutes for this section. What we're going to do is everyone's going to get 1 minute to say what they would like to add or what they would like to change or their response to this, just because we know this is part of the action part. So the stack is going to get started the same as before. The progressive stack. Ilsa's still in charge of the microphone for the next 19 minutes and 58 seconds.
Okay. Vecinos United has been working on police oversight for 20 years, and we, in figuring out trends on how they justify police shootings, it's apparent we need a complete independent citizens police review board. What does that mean? There's only 2 real, true independent models of police oversight. One is elected by the people. There has to be a conflict of interest clause in there that would prohibit anybody associated with law enforcement to serve. or a jury-style citizens police review board. If anybody else can come up with any other truly independent models, please let us know. The other thing is, so we're asking for a friendly amendment to number 2, and that's along with having the authority for hiring and firing, is also to have the authority on discipline, final authority on discipline, but that these things be elected by the people or a jury-style citizens review. Thank you.
My name is Ashley, and I went to the police commission or the police oversight commission hearing earlier this week, and I guess I was informed that they don't really have any power over the police department. So I think that the idea of an independent citizen commission with actual power would be beneficial, because from what I hear, they can only make recommendations to the APD as it stands right now. So I think that would be beneficial. I am not so sure that I agree that the Community Police Oversight Commission should have the power to hire and fire. I think that that's putting it into dangerous territory over the police, and perhaps they should have the power to discipline the APD officers. And I do believe that there should be some sort of independent commission as well that's in charge of all violence, not just violence that results in the death of people, but domestic violence, specifically of APD officers against the community and their family members. I think we all noticed that earlier this year with Levi Chavez, that is an issue as well. So.
Hi, my name's Thomas Dixon. I'm live streaming this right now, and some of the viewers are a little confused exactly on what demilitarization of the APD exactly entitles. If someone could address that, that would be awesome.
Hi, I am La Chica Mexica, born and raised here. I've also been a victim of police abuse. I think that this is a great start. I think some of them are kind of interconnected, and maybe hashing them out a little more. And I'd be happy to help with that. I have a master's in community planning. I'm a paralegal. Oops. And a potential lawyer. But anyway, the first question I had too is like incorporating, first of all, as far as immediate demands, I understand that there were people who were arrested. It's my understanding, the last I heard, they were all finally released. Are any of those folks here? Because I think it's really important that we provide the support. There's an attorney besides, I know Larry supports us in his way, but I know Esteli Juarez Boyd is more than happy to help with like any follow-up on the case. And I think that should be an immediate demand, is telling them to like pretty much dismiss the charges for these folks until, you know, I don't think it's fair that we're holding people accountable for reacting to something that's wrong before we hold the wrongdoers accountable. It's like, get to the root of the problem. And then finally, you know, being able to, oh, it's up. Okay, thanks a lot, and good job, everybody.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Marvin Gladstone. I'm an 86-year-old victim, as is my wife, of police violence that, thank goodness, didn't result in death. Among the recommendations that you will need for an independent police oversight commission is that they have subpoena power. That's extremely important, that you put them under oath. And that, you know, subject to the penalties of perjury for their witnesses. And the other point is they should be demilitarized. There's no room for stormtroopers, black shirts and brown shirts. Stormtroopers in the city of Albuquerque, they don't need the turtle suits and the AK-47s to police this community.
Hi, my name is Derek Garcia. I'm a
plaintiff's civil rights attorney here in Albuquerque, so I have several cases in federal court right now and in police excessive force. I just wanted to speak to the demands. I think they're a great list. As far as the community board that has hiring and firing power, I would add a third element to that being training, to have some remedial training in constitutional rights and under the First through 14th Amendments all the way across the board, including the leadership, and to require the Albuquerque Police Department, every single officer, doesn't matter how long you've been on the force, to get that remedial training before you can be recertified by the Citizen Commission or by the Community Commission. And I would also like to speak to, I'm interested in the James Boyd case in terms of, I don't think he has any surviving family that's been identified yet. Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I'm very interested in potentially, speaking with them to establish a community center on mental health awareness as well as homeless housing from any resulting federal civil rights lawsuit from that. So.
I forgot what I was going to say first, but just for full disclosure, I'm not sure if folks have just come from UNM bookstore, but my understanding is that there's a protest going on down there right now. I just wanted to make full disclosure in case you wanted to make some sort of choice. But we're going to continue our meeting and maybe after that join them. I don't know. So.
Hi, my name is Darcy, and I think two really important demands would be an end to shoot-to-kill policies, or the standard procedure, and an end to high-speed chases. That's all. Alan? Sorry.
Yeah, my name is Alan Cooper, and I've been in the movement for, this is my 54th year. I started in 1959, and I'd be glad to be a part of training people who haven't had any experience before being arrested and such. I've been arrested 16 times, and I'm here, as some of my friends that are here are going to be shocked, but I'm not a pacifist, and you know that. But I think that we need to make a commitment to nonviolence and work on it, because it's the one that wins the most. 2 to 1, it wins over violent revolutions.
Miguel Acosta, and I support pretty much everything that people are saying and what's up there. I'd like to recommend sort of 3 meta strategies that can help facilitate some of the other ones, and it makes it easier then for us to focus too. I would definitely go with tasking the Department of Justice with taking over, removing the chief, and investigating and prosecuting, etc., everything that needs to happen there. I would task the City Council with facilitating a community-led redesign of policing in Albuquerque, where all these other kinds of things can be investigated and developed and what have you. And then I think finally, we need to recall the mayor. That'll show people power and it'll build people power.
Hi, my name is Justine, and I'm here representing myself and I guess educators. And maybe I'm a little biased, but our APS system really needs work, and I'm not here for that, but it does start there. They take 4th grade reading scores across the country, and they determine how many beds they're going to need when those kids graduate in prison. So please support your teachers. And I guess what I'm going to say next is not going to be very popular, and that's a call for compassion. Not every single APD officer is corrupt. Many of them, as little boys and girls, dreamt of protecting us and their community, and still do. There's a few of you here who are retired. I agree with the young lady who talked about mental health issues, and I really, really think that on those demands, I don't know how we can demand that someone get emotional or psychological support. But what many of those officers, and I am not condoning anything, I'm here because I'm pissed. The James Boyd thing set it off. That thing, you know what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that they have a hard job. I teach English. I have a hard job. I'm telling you, those high school kids drive me nuts. I would never want to shoot one of them, maybe. But they need help. So let's get the police officers the help they need to deal with the craziness that they see every day and the horror.
Okay, we're down to 8 minutes for this section, so if you can be brief, please do so.
So again, what I'm going to say is probably not going to be too popular, but I think we should ask nothing less than disbanding the police department completely. No police whatsoever from now on, and if that's too much of an outreach for people, then at least let's ask that they disarm the cops completely, which means no cop ever gets to carry any guns.
I'm really interested in tonight being able to leave this meeting with the demands that the community has come up with. So we definitely made time when we planned this meeting for people to get to give your opinion and all of that. But now I really want to hear, can we move forward on demands? Because wouldn't it be great to leave tonight in unity on demands so that if anybody asks us, or if City Council has an emergency meeting this week, or whatever happens next, that we are clear, unified on our demands. So I just really like to get to that point in this meeting and kind of move away from the personal opinions. And is there anything in these demands that we can't live with? Are we good with this? How do we get to that point where we can leave with our demands?
The question was raised about what we mean by demilitarizing the police. Let me tell you what it means to have the military involved in the police as it is. First of all, we recruit ex-military people for the police. We train them with ex-military people. We equip them with military equipment, and since 9/11, Department of Homeland Security has made military equipment available to local police forces. This is something that could be stopped right here in Albuquerque. We can deny the police military equipment because it's our department it's not the Department of Homeland Security. Then they're organized along military lines, and if it's no
4th Street Mall, we will have lost. They'll jeopardize our freedom of expression. So right there at the Metro Campus fruit stand, James Boyd used to come over and have lunch with us. I knew him, and anyway, we miss him over there. But what I like to say, it's an alternative. We cannot allow. It's one of the few places in this country where we can share a meal in peace without their permission. It's common sense to take care of each other. Thank you. Please, I have a webpage on it, so please take a look. Metro Campus fruit stand. Metro Campus fruit stand. And one more thing. If we want to demilitarize the police, let's repeal the ordinance that City Council passed on October 4th, 2010, authorizing them to get whatever grants they want without our permission for whatever they so.
No, I have to be. I'm used to this stuff, unfortunately. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Gomez, father of a APD victim. His name was Alan Gomez. He was only 22 years old. He had just turned 22 years old when an APD officer, and happened to be a K-9 officer, too, came in, and he decided that he would take over the scene, went right behind a car, shot my son with a rifle from across the street. My son was unarmed. He wasn't doing any kind of something really bad, but APD, this guy came from the state police, and he was already a proven killer. And APD had this thing called a unilateral hire. They didn't do any kind of mental evaluations on him, and he's one of the killer cops. So basically, I'm glad everybody's here, because a lot of people have died needlessly. My son didn't deserve to die. James Boyd didn't deserve to die. And hopefully the people will listen, the citizens of Albuquerque will listen, so their loved ones won't die either.
Thank you. My name's Amanda. I grew up with somebody who passed away due to APD violence. I just want to say, as a part of our demands, I think it's very important that APD gets the mental support that they need as well. I think that something happens in their training that traumatizes them. I would rather believe that they're afraid. I know there are corrupt police, but I do think training and, support mentally needs to happen for them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Autumn Chacon. With James Boyd, there was a video that came out. There was photos in the newspapers. However, there should have been a video and photo from every officer that was at that incident. As well, there should be 24 other videos for every other incident that has occurred. So we demand the release of all of the videos of every lapel camera for every incident of the APD shootings.
Hi, my name is Sherry Gonzalez, and I come from a family that has been a victim of APD violence. And what I've been seeing on the news, and which I've been sending to my brother, he now lives in Spain, is the unlawful assembly. And so one of my demands is that we be able to exercise our right to assembly, because that's something that it should not be taxed. We should not be having to get permits. We are the people. This is supposed to be of the people. And that's something that I've been noticing around, that, yeah, I demand our right to assemble.
Hi, my name is Lizzie. I'd just like to get back to the objectives and the demands. I'd like to say first that for the purposes of this meeting and for the purposes of communicating with City Council, I do support the objectives. I'd like to echo Autumn's demand that we demand the release of all of the videos for all of the murders by APD. I would also like to echo Sherry's demand that we have the right and we make sure that our right to assemble is protected. And then finally, I would just like to say, in terms of the objectives, I would like us to figure out a way for us to underscore the importance of the first objective, because I think, as many people have said here tonight, that that is really the heart of the matter right now.
Okay, we didn't skip. There's just we're out of time for this section. So now we're going to go into next steps, and this is the meat of what we want: is that we leave this room, right? Not necessarily in love with each other, but that we leave this room with an understanding of where we're at and enough common ground that we can work together when we're out of here at 8:30. Okay. Like they said, there's a demonstration going on right now, so if we're all on the same page, we'll probably help that go a lot better. We're going to do 1 minute again? Okay, so we're going to stick to 1 minute because that's the only way to try to get as many people as we can going. If you've spoken before and somebody that hasn't spoken before raises their hand, they're probably going to get in the queue. So just don't get upset about those kind of things. We're just trying to make sure everybody has voice. So we're going to go with 1 minute. Please respect the timekeeper. We appreciate those of you who pay attention. And we'll be out of here by 8:30, I promise.
And so in this part, we want to think more radically. How are we going to step out in the street? And we've talked a lot about how we're going to take things to the powers that be and what we're going to demand of them. But diversity of tactic is always a good thing. We need to squeeze them from all sides. So now, if you can, or would like to, I would like you to talk about really radical tactics in the street, banner drops, whatever it is. If you have ideas, throw them out there, and let's try and raise the bar, okay?
No, that's fine. Yeah, actually, what I wanted to say is in between the two about demands and objectives. That I think the demands are really good. I mean, I have problems with the DOJ. Federalizing the police is scary, but I think it's important to select demands and make them clear. And the additions are awesome. These additions were awesome. But in terms of everything, in every action, I think what you want to do is think about what is it like, and this goes with demands and next steps. What is it like when we win? Because those demands are like medicine on a disease in a lot of ways, and you want to like, if you want to see peace, be peace. That kind of bring in what you really want to see and create it, but also look at because we don't have a clue what society looks like when we win. So think about that.
Just going to say next step, recall the mayor. We're going to need around 11,000 signatures to do that. That's not the only solution because we had a problem with police brutality before this mayor, right? So it's not just this mayor, but it's a start.
I agree with you. Hi, my name is Celestino Crow. Can you hear me? Okay, now you can hear me. My name is Celestino Crow. I'm a member of the collective Cop Watch. I was there yesterday. Thank you. 10 hours of filming. I guess we're speaking about, am I starting the discussion on actions that we can do? Oh, okay. Okay. I want to speak to an experience that I had yesterday that I can say changed my life. I had my comadre with me. This was at the end of the day, 10:30. And then, 10:30, we were in front of police headquarters. Everybody was... I just want to try to back up my idea with validation of my experience. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to be long-winded. APD had shown up again. They used this tactic before, but because we had been going around for 10 hours, I recognized it. They set up here on, 6th and Roma? Okay, 5th and Roma. Anyways, I'm sorry. We did a civil disobedience act. And I'm not saying this to invalidate all of the stuff that happened yesterday because I support you all in what you did, and I commend you for what you did. So that maybe can be one of the tactics that we can use to support our cause. Thank you. Sorry.
My name is Jennifer Bunce, and I work with Duke City Wheelman Foundation. We are the originators of the ghost bikes here in New Mexico. So I work for a cause that has even less support than ending police violence, bicycle infrastructure, and bicycle rights. And in my work, one of the things that I've come to realize is that I don't have the support of a big enough base. And I would put that out there for you today to think about, that finding ways to engage more average, everyday citizens, people who do not feel that they or their family members are likely to be victims of police violence. You need their help. And you need them to understand that things like the way the police issues here in Albuquerque hurt our economy, the way they hurt people who are victims. A cyclist or pedestrian is hit today by a motor vehicle. There will not be a traffic cop there to do a proper investigation. Their story will not be told. They'll have amnesia. So there's ways that you can engage other people, and I challenge you to think about that. Thank you.
Get ready to write down. I've got a laundry list. Get special city council meeting ASAP. By the way, I don't think this fits the definition of an emergency meeting, at least not by the state statutes. Create a mass training and mentoring program. Make certain the media gets our side of the message every time, which means there's got to be a little task force who loves to play with media like I do. So I guess I just volunteered. And create one recall petition, because I'm assuming there's 20 of them going around right now. So let's create one and make it happen. Thank you.
So I want us to really go deeper. You know, there's places in this world and in this country that police themselves, right? As a community, we could learn how to do that and dismantle an institution if we wanted to. And you know, Arundhati Roy says, on a quiet day, if you listen closely, you can hear the new world coming. You can hear her breathing. So that's where we're going with this discussion. We want to go a little bit deeper on that more direct action side.
Mine is, I'm Patty Gladstone. I have been a victim of police brutality. Pretty bad experience. But I think, although this is not radical, we should mass Monday night, next Monday night. I mean, I would like to see them scared of us at the city council meeting.
Yeah, I call for a general strike on May 1st. That's what I'm talking about. I think we should shut this city down, and we should do it with the working class. Also, I think that we should, if they refuse to arrest these officers, I think that we need to start putting up wanted posters in their neighborhoods and doing door-to-door canvassing in their neighborhoods.
Yes, I agree with everything you've just said. No, I have been a victim, but it's more subtle than abuse. It's more of targeting you once you become a protester, an activist, attacking you in every area of your life. So we need to start using our civil disobedience and start practicing, start learning, and support each other, and find one place where we can collectively review all of our information and find ways. If we didn't have Facebook, or if we didn't have email or phones, where would we meet? How do we gather? We need to find places and know where those are at.
I have an idea for a direct action. I would like to call on us to consider picketing private hospitals, the 3 huge hospitals and other places who don't offer rest, rehabilitation, and nourishment for homeless people who have mental illness. There's a revolving door policy, and there's no services for people to just get through the night.
Hi, my name is Melina, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that's been said here. And I think the key is that we need unity in action. All the diverse tactics are good, but there needs to be unity in what we're doing. And the idea about the city council kind of like goes with what I was going to say. I don't know if most of you know about what's going on in North Carolina with Moral Mondays, but they've done a lot and they mobilized a lot of people. And I think there's potential here for that in Albuquerque, and I think we could do it. And it builds up to other stuff like May 1st, where you can actually build a huge following and a huge movement to make a strike possible.
I would like to remind everybody of the kind of the underlining part of why we've been militarized that stems all the way back to 9/11, and that really is Citizens Unite. And Citizens Unite it gave corporations the citizenship, and corporations rule this country, and militarization is there. They are a security force to keep us in line.
Hi, my name is Brittany Arneson, and I think that one of the first steps that we need to take, and it needs to be immediate, is we really need to do a training on systematic oppression, and we also need to do a training on civil disobedience. And it needs to be like soon so that we can mobilize everybody that was out yesterday to do nonviolent civil disobedience.
Thank you for letting me speak again. I think this isn't actually radical, but it is. You know, these cops are committing crimes. There's a person who is elected to prosecute crimes, and that's the DA. Why is the DA not prosecuting the cops? Why don't we put a DA in office who is not in bed with the cops, who will go after the cops? Why don't we make Larry the DA, you know, or anybody? Sorry, Larry. One more thing real quick. Okay, so I think that I read the 14 items. They're excellent. They need as much teeth as possible. If for some reason they have less power than the DA, it needs to have that much power. It really does. We need to be able to prosecute cops.
As part of the training for the police, they should be required to read the 10 articles in the Bill of Rights and recognize that there are 9 other articles besides the Second Amendment. And they should be required to recite all the other 9 amendments in order to pass the cadet training.
I think we need to realize that the police agency here is a business like anything else based on supply and demand. I think we need to stand up for ourselves and for our neighbors. There's a lot of capable people in this room. If you hear something going on, if you have a neighbor in trouble, if you know of somebody in trouble, do something about it. Don't just call a cop that's going to take 2 hours to get there. Let's put him out of business.
What is a radical notion? A radical notion is love, okay? I know you're mad at the cops. You're allowed to be angry. I know you hate them. You're allowed to hate them. But hate and love are 2 sides of the same coin. And if we need to make change, we have to think about the radical leaders of our past, the radical world leaders of our past, and the messages of love that they brought, not hate. Hate is not the answer. Thank you.
Joe.
No, that's okay, Amalia. I could speak, right? Right, I could speak. Okay, great. Start me now. All right, so what we could do for direct action, and this is something that we could actually do, is occupy the seats of the city council and then create a de facto citizens city council That way we can appoint a civilian police oversight committee with no cops, drop all charges against all the people who were at the protest yesterday, decriminalize homelessness, and also make a police oversight commission that has subpoena power and the power to investigate police officers, to the fullest extent.
Hi, I'd like to propose that we camp at the site where James Boyd was murdered. Let's spend the night there. He was killed because he was homeless and he laid his head down and he was killed. If they arrest us, then we embarrass them. If they don't arrest us, then we embarrass them. And I propose that we do that on Sunday night, this Sunday night coming up, the night before the council meeting. Let's camp there Sunday night, the night before the city council meeting.
I think that's a great suggestion that he just made for Sunday night. I also think that every day we should focus on something to do to keep this going till the DOJ, until these things come up to the surface, and the newspaper. We need to think maybe every day, like every day we should do something until this is resolved. I think we should get together. What this gentleman just mentioned about Sunday, we should do that. We should get together at the site where he was shot. We also should, my suggestion is have a no call for 24 hours or 48 hours. Do not call the police department. We've already seen that they kill people. They shoot people. We need to have a blockout of something to let them know that we're having an impact. Also, we need a telephone tree. So we need a piece of paper on the board, on the table, and everybody who's here, write their name down, their phone number, their email, so we can contact you and let you know every day where we are and what we're doing.
Good evening, everyone. Alma Rosa, Borqueña, local, born and raised. I want to start out by saying no justice, no peace. I want to go echo what some of the fellow speakers have said. I think that we also need a protest in all 24 locations of all the murders of our lost citizens and people from Borque. Also shutting down the police department. I think this has worked at the World Bank, shutting them down in New York, circling them and not letting them in, shutting it down, and sometimes that means chaining to each other, however that direct action looks like. I think also a sit-in at the mayor's office. I mean, might as well sleep in the mayor's office if we're going to take over the foothills. Not let him sleep. I think yesterday's tactics were incredibly successful. That's called a snake march, just to keep mobile. Echoing my sister's comments, keep mobile, taking away their power. They set up, they couldn't move, and they stayed in formation while we took off. Die-ins in intersections, guerrilla theater. Let's demonstrate what's happening. And the guerrilla theater helps with media, right? Because our images, they take pictures and they show that banner drops and community patrols and a people's tribunal. And Richard Moore can speak a little bit more to that.
Okay, really quick, I'm jumping out of facilitator role for a second. I think what we should do is have demonstrations at ICE, right, so that we connect the police brutality that happens, that we're talking about, with the police brutality that happens in those situations, right? We should remember that the base is still here and is still part of the colonization of New Mexico, and we should connect those to this police brutality because it's all part of the same system. And so that we can build this, right? There's not a lot of the immigrant rights folks in the room today. There's not a lot of, well, there is a good number, but not a lot of the folks who are for demilitarization of society in general. So I think pulling that all together, this is our opportunity. And like Mike said, May Day is a good day for that type of action. Quick announcements. If you don't know, the candlelight vigil is at 6:30. up in the spot where James Boyd was murdered off of Copper, right? Cooper Trail, Wednesday at 6:30. Copper. Okay. All right, there's flyers in the back. And then City Council, if you've never been there, right, Civic Plaza is on 5th and Marquette, and it's downstairs. So, however, there's parking underneath the building and around town, but it's down at the bottom in the basement. So if you want to show up, that's where you go. And if you want to sign up, you got to get there before 5.
So we're closing the stack now, and I just got a couple of ideas that people sent up to me to read. And then Enrique and Saida are going to kind of help us glue our ideas together around the demands, and the ones that we came in with and the ones that we got here tonight. But some folks are talking about general strike, the phone trees, street theater, replaying APD shootings, but with a non-violent outcome. So setting a different example, right? Yeah. So again, I want us to think about a different way, go deeper in our hearts, and how we could help each other to be a community and come closer together and police ourselves. That I know it's a stretch, but those are things that if we start to think about them, maybe they'll resonate with us. But now we're going to try and glue some of this together, and then we're going to wrap it up. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting hot and tired, and I was in the streets from noon to midnight, and I'm tired. So we're going to try and move through this, okay?
Okay, so thank you, Adriana. So that's the point that we're at. So again, our goal tonight, I really appreciate people being here this long. I loved how Progressive Stack went because I got to hear from so many people instead of just people who often are comfortable speaking first. So I really appreciated hearing from so many of you. We have over, I think, 150 people in this room on like a few hours' notice. So this is a beautiful example of Albuquerque. So thank you for being here. So we do want to end by 8:30. So what we were hoping out of this meeting was that we could leave with demands that we can live with. I know that there are disagreements. That's normal because fortunately we're a diverse group. We're not all the same kind of people with all the same kind of experiences. But we do want to come up with demands we can live with so that we can move forward. So our hope now is to look at everything that you shared as what you wanted to add to the demands and hone that down because we don't want to leave with 35 demands. And that's about where we're at right now. We don't want to leave with that. So we need to bring that down. So we're going to do this process together. And then we're also hoping that you've signed on the sign-in sheet and that we can take these demands, and probably everybody here is part of an organization or a church or a mosque or a synagogue or a union, and you can go back to them and say, will you support these demands, so that we can say these demands came not just from 150 people in the room, but 150 community groups in our city. That's what we want to get to. So help me with this, these last few minutes. We're going to hone down the demands. So I'm really going to ask you, please don't speak if you just want to say, yeah, I like that, or we want to know what you object to. We want to narrow it down and say, we're good with this, we can do this. So partly how we're going to do that, because we have 15 minutes, is instead of handing the mic around again, which we've done for over an hour, giving people a chance to talk, we're going to do it probably with like hands. Yeah, or we could do it by clapping, but then if you're really loud, you're loud. Hands. Are people good with hands? So that's how we could do it. People would rather do hands. Okay, so we're going to start going through the demands, and we'll probably have to do it twice. We'll go through, we can start eliminating, and then maybe we can go through again and just really get it down. Some people have suggested maybe we should only have 3 demands. So we've got about 30. So can we get to 3? Can those 3 capture things? So we're going to just see what we can do in these 15 minutes together. So be patient and really help us. So the 14 demands were put forth. I can clarify that. The ABQ Public Safety Task Force, which used to be called the ABQ Coalition Against Police Brutality, and David can help me out because he introduced this part. They did have 14 demands a while ago. we got rid of some of those demands, and there was people in the task force that were good with getting rid of that. And so that's how we got started with the 6. Those 6 came from the 14. So we're looking at here they are. Oh, wait, 7. Sorry, 7 came from the 14. We honed them down already, and then we have the objectives. So we have 7 nice objectives, goals here, 7 demands. But then we had a whole bunch of people had lots and lots of stuff, so we don't want to throw that out. We want to hear that. I'm seeing some questions from Sue and Rodrigo. Okay, so Sue, what's your question? Yeah, okay. Yes, we can do that. There's some repetitive. Rodrigo, do you have a question? I also think that what's going to happen today is we're going to need to meet again, which is why it's important that you sign up on the sign-in sheet. We can't agree to do everything in 2 hours, so we do need to have future meetings about our next steps. Yeah. I think these are just demands. And we can, with our next steps, we can take that wherever it goes. It could be to the media, to the city council, to the mayor, to whoever we want to go with that. I think we're just trying to get the demands down. I'm seeing lots of questions, and we only have 15 minutes to get these demands, so I hope these are, I'm not sure what to do with all these hands raised. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Amalia. A living document. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to start going through it, because I see 10 hands, and sorry, this is where we want to go with the agenda. Can these be moved up? People can't see. Could you move this one? All right, so we're going to go through. Enrique, do you want to help me? You can start going through.
Because a lot of our folks are being harassed at the end of the month because the police department is being put on the quota system. So when they pull them over to give them tickets and stuff like that, in some cases they're beating them and they're harassing them. So there's some things in context that we need to very clearly understand.
So it sounds like we really need to have another meeting, because that's really important what Richard's saying, and we really try to hear from as many as you if we could. So I really hope you feel that way, and we're going to leave maybe not having it completely. So we're going to go through what you already went through so we can narrow this down so we can leave with demands. That was one of our goals today. So you just heard Richard say end racial profiling, end quota system. We're going to read through. I said we just read through. Enrique, what do you think? Let's read through so you can remember. Then you can go, okay, now I've heard them, okay? End racial profiling, end quota system, jury-style review board.
An elected review board with authority on discipline for hiring and firing, and there was some disagreement there. Independent Citizens Commission. We had somebody gave us a definition on what demilitarizing means, so following that up. Get rid of high-speed chases. Community oversight.
My handwriting's pretty bad, so dismiss the charges against the protesters. Yes, community oversight has authority to over training police. We're just going through. So community center on mental health awareness, end shoot to kill, end high-speed chases, commitment to nonviolence, task the DOJ with removing the chief, commission to redesign the city of Albuquerque, recall the mayor, fund schools, no more school-to-prison pipeline, compassion for police, mental health for police, disband the police altogether, disarm the APD, revisit legislation, current legislation, get rid of dogs, they are weapons. Let's see, don't tear down the Metro food or fruit station. I wasn't sure which fruit stand. Okay, down by the 4th Street Mall. Where was I next? No more federal grants for any more militarization of the cops. Okay, so over community oversight over federal grants. Okay, my bad.
I just jotted it down.
Okay. No more unilateral hiring. So in other words, police can't come from one police station to another without the proper background, mental health checks, so forth and so on. Always video and release all videos that have been taped heretofore. No laws abolishing the freedom to assemble, which has been a thing in Australia, Spain, and elsewhere. Get a new easel.
That's it. Yeah, those are next steps. Okay. Thank you. So I'm just talking with folks to get a sense of, in 10 minutes, can we really do this? So one suggestion is we could eliminate and narrow it down, and then there might be people who want to leave and help finish it. That's one suggestion if we can't do it tonight. So can I do a temperature check? If you like the idea of not leaving tonight with a complete list of demands, but being willing to have a smaller group that can refine these, raise your hand if you'd like to do that. Okay, temperature check. And if you'd rather see if we can get through this tonight in 10 minutes and try to get our demands together so we can leave with demands, let me do a temperature check. Some people want to leave with demands.
Let's try. Well, I wanted to suggest that like none of this gets destroyed, even if it's not like right, in there, because you can always give them tons of attachments. We could like summarize and.
That's another idea I've heard is we could come up with themes. Some of these, as you can see, they're connected, and they could fall under themes. So that was another thought, is that we could have like 5 themes, and then some of these things could fit under that. People like that idea? Okay. But again, the idea that maybe a small group would need to try to fit them into themes. So maybe what would be most useful tonight is to see what we can eliminate, because that might be a little more clear. What people cannot live with, or we just don't have enough people in support of, that would help that group then to make themes. So again, temperature check, I think what we're agreeing to in these last few minutes is if we could make themes for our demands, and then these things could fit under it, then, and a group would help to do that, to say, oh, these 3 things all have to do with mental health. They go under that theme, or whatever it might be. Are we good with that temperature check? Raise your hand if you like that idea. Are we good? Is that democratic? Okay. So then I think the best thing we could do at this point would be what can we eliminate so that that group could then work to hone down things into themes. Does that sound good? All right, okay. All right, so it's going to be hard, huh?
What about just putting them into the list we have over here?
Okay, that's another. So as we talk about themes, again, we have agreement that we could take these things and put them into themes. Barb is saying, we kind of have 7 themes right here. Do most of these things fit under here? Maybe that would be helpful. Some don't. Okay, so let's do a first call. These 7 demands, I know some people have some disagreement, for example, with demand number 1, we've heard the most disagreement with. But with these 7 demands, is there anyone here that would just absolutely object, this is awful, we should not have these 7? And I'm asking that because that would help us to move things. So we have a couple people. I want to see how many people are just absolutely cannot live with these 7 demands. How many in this room of 150 cannot live with these 7 demands? Raise your hand if you cannot live with these 7 demands. 1 person? 2 people? They're here. We read them earlier.
I can live with them, but I have an idea how you can combine all of the community police oversight stuff into one.
You're right. So, yeah, he's pointing out that several of these things do fit under community police oversight, right? So this is what the small group could do. What on this page fits there? So then we have our themes. So it looks like out of a room of about 150, 149 can live with these 7 demands. There's 1 objection. So. Yeah, I think that's on the list. Okay, that's on the list. And so where that would fit under indictments of all shooter cops. Okay, so maybe we should just read these again if people don't see them.
Well, I think one thing we can add on there is the end the racial profiling, the quota, and the connection to ICE, because I don't think that's explicit on that list of 7. Does that work okay for everyone? So that would be, somebody asked me to repeat that. So that would be end racial profiling, the quota system, and connection to immigration as part of what we wanted to change with APD. And probably Bernalillo County Sheriffs as well. But
Can we add one demand real quick?
think we need to add something about the education of the police.
I think there's something around training.
The racial profiling and quotas.
It's in the objectives. Number 2. Okay, so we're really close to all the time, and we want to honor. We told people we'd be out of here at 8:30, which is never easy to deal with in social justice, right? To have a schedule of like beginning and end.
I was going to say, one way you can look at it is accountability for what's happened in the past and changes we want for the future.
Okay, I think so. The suggestion was separate things into accountability for the past and changes for the future. You've been struggling hard there.
Easier to choose like 3 or 4 concrete ones, like releasing the videos. That's easy. You can just say that. They could do that like right now. So if you choose like concrete ones that can be done right away, and then have the other group go through these and separate them, like she was saying, or how other people have suggested, that can kind of solve the problem between not leaving here without anything.
Okay, did that make sense to folks? Did everybody hear that? So the suggestion is to take some very concrete, immediate demands so that we can leave the room today with those demands while we work on the rest of these. How many? So the suggestion was 3 or 4, right?
So instead of everybody talking at once, Melina has a suggestion that we just look at the ones that could be done soon. It sounds like you're talking about time-wise. So one thing we've all heard over and over is release the videos. We keep hearing that one, right? So that should be a demand. Release the videos. We're all in agreement on that one. So, and that's something that could be done right away, whereas some of these other things might be harder.
Number 5.
Indictments on all shooter cops. Yeah.
Raise your hand if you support that.
Yeah. Okay, so we have agreement that one of our demands leaving tonight is release all the videos of the police shootings, right? We are agreeing on that. Okay, so then someone mentioned indictments on all cops that have shot people. Yeah. Are we leading with a demand like that?
Drop charges on protesters.
That's another one that's going with Melina, like that's short term. Okay, so third one. And could somebody write this because I don't want to lose these demands for tonight. Okay, red check. So we've got 3 so far. That's right. So the third one was to drop all the charges. Drop all the charges against the protesters. So everybody raise your hand if you're in agreement that a demand is drop all the charges against yesterday's protesters. We have the majority of the room. Okay, so we've got 3 demands leaving tonight.
The elected police oversight commission.
So
I think we need more time to,
Okay. So we want one more. So I'm hearing things in the short term. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Do people feel like fire the chief of police as a demand leaving tonight? Yeah. Do people want to have that as a demand? So we've got about, raise your hand please so I can see. Do we have only half the room or do we have more than half? Okay, so we're going to count. Do you want the demand to be fire the chief of police? Then we're counting.
How many? I count 41 on this, and I said 17 on the mark.
58. So it seems like we kind of have a split room on that one, so let's come back to that one for a second. Other things that people feel like could be done in the short term. You've heard the list. We're not going to reread it. Anything else that we could leave tonight with that's a short-term demand, or are we good with these 3 with a group that could then move and do more?
Civilian oversight on discipline.
Okay, civilian oversight on discipline.
Talking about immediate things.
Okay, so I'm hearing mixed, like, are these things that are immediate? So that's one thought. Let's hear from a couple more people. Rodrigo, what was
the DOJ's investigation. We want the results of their report. They've been looking into it for 18 months.
So we haven't gotten the DOJ report. It's 18 months old.
Hold your hands up if you agree with that idea for
second, as we're voting on this, David was at the meeting with the DOJ. He has some information that might be helpful in us looking at this as a demand. So can we just hear from David about the DOJ meeting?
Yeah, just really briefly, I was at the DOJ meeting. It's clear, it was very unclear to us, the DOJ, what time frame they were on. They have spent as much time talking to Barry of late and Eden of late as they have been to protesters. They wouldn't move on anything. And I think that they have to release that report. And I remember one of our demands was DOJ takeover. But if the point is something that we can demand and expect immediately, DOJ is dragging their feet, partly because DOJ, it was clear that must be some sort of schism where internally they're like, what do we do here? We can't take over APD. They're trying to figure out what would they do if they took it over. That's an enormous logistical issue for them. So I think that's an important demand, but I wonder if the point is, like, what can we walk out here and expect to happen right now? I'm not sure.
We'll give them 18 more hours.
After 18 months? Anyways, I just wanted to add that. I just think if the point is to, like, we can make sure we can get something done. I mean, DOJ has, every time anyone's demanded this, they've just extended this, right? 18 months.
Thanks, David. Okay, so we're at time. So we do want to leave with some demands, and we need people to be willing to work on the rest of putting these demands into our themes. That's our agreement today. We've got themes. We need people to help us put what was talked about tonight into this. And we need you to go back to your groups and get people to sponsor this. So make sure you sign up. So Enrique is going to explain how we're going to wrap up where we've gotten so far. We definitely had 3 near unanimous on these 3. On these 2, we didn't have an unanimous, but we might have had majority. So I'm going to check with Enrique about, are we leaving with 5 or what do we want to do with these?
Okay. This is always the fun part, right? So do we want to leave with 3 or 5? So hands up for 3.
3's good for now. Solid, definitely.
I think that's majority. Is that going to throw anybody completely off? Okay, so these are our 3 leaving the room right now. All right, so we want, and some time, somebody mentioned it, we want some time. We want immediate release of the videos. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. We want an immediate drop of the charges for everybody that was charged last night. And we want the DA to immediately indict all officers who have been part of shootings. Right, so these are our immediate demands, what we want at 8:45 tonight. No. We'll give them till 8:45. No, we're not staying till 8:45. That's when we give them to finish turning our demands.
Let you email all the demands to everybody who's here and make
Yes,
this
we will.
item number 1 on the next meeting's agenda.
Good. So Julie, up here, raise your hand, stand up, is going to take names for anyone who wants to be part of going through the demands and refining them, separating things into objectives and all of that fun stuff. Please see Julie, sign up with her. If you have complaints about the meeting, I will take those. But thank you all for being here. We need to move on.
We have the possibility. We have the possibility of meeting here. Stop the War Machine is willing to give up their time here in this building on Wednesday. Oh, it's the candlelight vigil. Okay, you're just going to have to watch your email so we can do this again and do it quickly because we want to keep our momentum. And you all have been great. Give yourselves a hand. You are great. Thank you.
I want to thank Unoccupied for doing an incredible job facilitating tonight. Thank you.
Just myself on live stream. I was streaming the protest yesterday, about 2,000 viewers.